Good morning and happy Friday. We are extremely excited to be hosting an amazing panel with some amazing special guests on the brand of you. Your personal brand is not just your social media account, your brand is your story and a reflection of your ultimate business. In business, your personal brand is defined in two ways. One, your online, and two, your offline self. Your online brand might include your social media profiles and company website, but it's your offline brand that really tells the deeper story. The Brand of You panel will teach participants how to create, maintain, and leverage their personal brands for professional use. So firstly, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Ilbert, and we have our first question for you. As a business owner with a business partner, how do you keep your personal brand separated but also unified?
I think for us, it's just understanding like what the end goal is. For us, we stand in excellence, so we want to be able to provide our most authentic self in whatever we do. For him, he's like the more he steps outside the box much more when it comes to fashion. He's just wearing these pieces that stand out so much. For me, I'm the more conservative one, and I'm like the one who speaks more. I'm like the spokesperson of not only the company Garza Couture, but for myself, Ilbert Sanchez. So we also, in whatever that we do, we make sure that we maintain the excellence and clothes and speaking and just being authentic within ourselves, within our family, and with our clients as well.
Absolutely. Being authentic within yourself and having a company is extremely, extremely important. But within that, you may run into some conflicts, right? Which is it's very normal for every business owner to face. So what conflicts have you run into trying to maintain your personal brand, if there were any?
That's a great question. Conflicts that I've had. I think it took us probably like a year and a half to understand what we were better at. Because we both were in fashion, but what is it that I was good at, and what was it that he was great at? And understanding where our lanes were. So it took us some time, and he understood that he was the better one when it comes to mixing patterns and like just providing a different perspective of like the fashion industry and like in fashion trends and being able to pick like these fabrics that popped out. For me, it was more so of like this is what the culture needs, and this is how we should deliver it to them. And this is the type of wording that we should market it, and this is the platform that we should use. Whether it's we're going to use Rails, whether we're going to use Insta stories, whether we're going to use Facebook banners. Just understanding that telling a story and telling it within the culture of Garson Couture.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was an amazing answer to that question. And lastly, the last question that we have for you is, in building your personal brand, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you think that you've been able to have in building your personal brand within your company that you feel like someone else could gain from in listening to?
The biggest takeaways as building my personal brand, it's fulfilling. Yeah, the reason why I quit my job and back in 2018 to run a company full time was just to be happier, to be kind to myself and practice self care. So as I just aligned my dreams with, being happy and just being able to dress people all over the world, and dress them in like the beautiful pieces and see them happy as well, and understanding that I'm fulfilling my purpose, in this world. Also being able to give back, speak to the youth, and just empower the Black dollar. That these are things that are aligned with just who I am as a Black man in America. For me, telling a story of like my hustle and like my grit, and also looking at my business partner being a father and us being college roommates. It just the stories keeps telling itself, and for us to pay it forward because we're not going to be here for so long. So being able to have someone behind us come in and just take the throne, and being able to do the same thing and then give back, that's where all of like the passion comes in, like the pay it forward.
Yes, definitely paying it forward is extremely important. Thank you so much for answering our questions. Those were some amazing, amazing tips and takeaways that you were able to give the participants of our webinar this afternoon on building their personal brand. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome. The next set of questions that we have is for Terry Johnson, which is the founder and CEO of Harlem Candles.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Well, hi, but we met a long time ago. I don't know if you remember. I met you at a party, and I was blown away by how everyone was dressed. And I was like, who is behind this? So it's nice to see you again and
Nice
to
to see
see
you as well.
your business thriving. Yeah. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Terry.
Oh, you're beautiful.
You look so good.
You too.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good morning, Terry. We are extremely excited to have you this morning and to share how you've been able to build your personal brand within your company. So first, we would love for you to introduce yourself and just give us a little bit more about your company before we hop into the questions.
Absolutely. So I'm Terry Johnson. I went to Florida A&M University. I was a business major there, and I am the founder of the Harlem Candle Company. I'll just give you a quick little, we do beautiful scented candles, all inspired by the Harlem Renaissance. I started the brand in my kitchen, and this was probably about 6 years ago. And when I started it, I was actually just having fun. I was making candles for friends and family because I wanted to gift people candles for the holidays. And I got so into creating the candles and playing with the scents and the wax and the colors and figuring out what story I was going to tell behind each candle. And by the time I did that and I gifted them, the response was overwhelming. And everyone was just like, oh my God, this is what you should be doing. Because I've always been really obsessed with beautiful fragrances. And so I just kind of took it to the next level. So I started making the candles, continuing to make the candles in my kitchen, selling them at pop-ups locally here in New York City and, in parts of Harlem. And the brand just kind of took off. A fragrance agent who's now still my fragrance agent, saw what I was doing and reached out to me and said, hey, I think I can help you. So he helped me find a manufacturing company. He helped me start to work with some of the most incredible perfumers. And then I was ready to take the brand to the whole next level. And I think it was probably in 2016 when the brand really started to get momentum. And that's when I did the Architectural Digest Design Show as an exhibitor. And we were able to create a really beautiful 1920s Harlem parlor room as our display. And then, of course, we were there to sell candles, and people were just kind of floored by the design. And so there's kind of a design approach that we take to every single product. Even our packaging, it's, very detailed, and there's messaging. So the brand is very inspired by the Harlem Renaissance. And when I think about why and how, I basically created a brand that I would want to go into a store and purchase for my friends and myself. So that's a little background of how I got here.
Awesome. Awesome. That is so inspiring to hear. With building a business and brand, it can be very scary starting off. So what was the biggest thing that made you realize, okay, I need to turn this into a brand. This is something that the industry needs. And this is the thing that will, inspire me to get started. What was the main thing that made you want to get started with your candle company?
So when I was a huge consumer of candles prior to starting this company, and I was always buying candles from Diptyque, and I love luxury candles, not, the little ones you get from the grocery, the Dwayne Reed. I love beautifully scented candles. That was my affordable luxury. So instead of buying like super expensive shoes and handbags, I bought candles and perfume. That was my thing. But what I realized when I started the business is that there wasn't anything that existed in the market for someone like me. I wanted a candle that was inspired by, a place or a story, a candle that would really transport me back to a place in time. And it just didn't exist in a luxury sense. There were maybe some small brands kind of doing things here and there, but I really wanted it to be inspired by culture. And here I was in Harlem making these candles in my Harlem kitchen. And I'm surrounded by all these beautiful streets, named after these icons. And it just made me think, why not have a brand and fragrances inspired by these incredible people? Billie Holiday, Jane Hughes, Josephine Baker, James Baldwin. And the more I started doing research and started to understand that I really can figure out, well, what are those elements that they loved? What did Langston Hughes love? And to try to capture the essence of, oh, he was a big smoker, so I put some tobacco notes, and he loved incense. Let me put some incense notes. So, and so I really wanted to incorporate storytelling as much as I possibly could in creating a brand that really honored and celebrated people. And I just didn't think that existed. I knew it didn't exist. And I felt, I also was reinforced by the universe and by God, like, I should be doing this. I'm the one to do it. And I'll have to tell you this one pivotal moment that happened. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I went to Florida A&M. My grandfather was a professor at Florida A&M. He did a lot of work in civil rights back in his day. I found a picture of him and Duke Ellington, and I have a candle inspired by Duke Ellington. So after I saw that, I was like, yep, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Confirmed.
Awesome, awesome, amazing. There are definitely certain things that make you want to start your brand and business, and there are intricate things that happen that are kind of an indicator to you, okay, I need to start this brand and business. In saying that, of course, the candle industry, there are a lot of different companies that are within it. What do you think is the main thing or part of your personal brand that sets you aside from other competing companies?
What I think sets me aside more than anything is, this is not my first business. I've done a couple of other things before, but this is the one that I felt just way more passionate about, because here I live in Harlem. At the time that I started the business, the neighborhood was changing so much. And, between the gentrification and just the way that Harlem was starting to look, I was like, oh, but we can't, let's not try to rebrand Harlem. The Harlem became the epicenter of Black culture for a reason. We have to remember these people. We have to pay homage to those people, and we have to continue to celebrate those people, because some of their work is still so relevant today. And so I knew there was a niche that I could create, but I also wanted to really continue to carry the legacy of these people. And so if you go to the website, you'll see we have profiles on them. So we tell their stories, through posts. We tell their stories on Instagram as much as we possibly can through beautiful pictures. And so it's extremely important for us to be able to celebrate people and to celebrate history. And I think that's probably what sets us apart. And while it makes for a really good story for any media, think about, oh, this is not a candle company with lavender and vanilla. No, this candle celebrates Josephine Baker's boudoir. This is sexy. It's bringing in all this extra. And that's more exciting. That's a more exciting story to tell than, oh, look at this lavender and vanilla candle. So we have become sort of very media friendly. It's easy to write about the brand because there's so many people whose essences and whose experience we use to tell stories and to celebrate through fragrance. So I think it's just really about finding that niche, finding what makes you authentically great in doing this. And so I think my obsession with fragrance and being a huge consumer of luxury candles, and then also just, I have a kind of an artistic background. And so just when it comes to design, and then when it comes to storytelling, and, I used to travel, I've been to 69 countries. So I've traveled, and I used to tell stories through travel. I've worked with the Travel Channel, BET, TV1. I'm not afraid of getting in front of the camera. And so I think it makes me very good at being able to create a brand like this and getting it to the level I've gotten. We're now in Bloomingdale's, Macy's. We're about to launch in Nordstrom. And then, of course, we have a pretty thriving e-commerce business. So.
Awesome. Yes, you did. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing not only your journey, but also the important things that you were able to focus on within your personal brand to set your company forward and what sets you aside specifically as a business owner. Thank you so much for answering that. Awesome. Now moving on to our next panelist, Kim Roxy. She is the founder and CEO of Lamic. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kim, we would love to have you come off of mute and just share a little bit more about your business before we hop into our questions.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm so excited to be here. Lamic Beauty. And, I don't mind the way you pronounce it. It's whatever way it feels comfortable for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. So give us a little bit more about your company and your brand before we hop into our questions.
Yes. So thank you for this opportunity, Walker's Legacy, the NRF Foundation, and to my panelists. I was sitting up here taking notes to my co-panelists because I love hearing their stories. They, as being an entrepreneur, sometimes it gets, some people say lonely, but if you have these type of stories to kind of go back to, they can be your energizer too. So Lamique Beauty is a clean color cosmetic brand that basically puts, deeper skin tone women like myself first, and really keeps us top of mind versus afterthought or later on, or maybe we'll get there or we'll expand to that later. So I created Lamique Beauty in my hometown of Houston, my Houston sister Terry here. But right here is where we manufacture our products, and we really concentrate on the fact that 75% of beauty products marketed to women of color are toxic. And so we're here to fix that. And I ran my own makeup shop for 14 years. And I tested out all of my products. I used them inside of my store, and then I decided to launch them on their own.
Awesome, awesome. Definitely creating a company in an industry where you do not see specific representation is so, so, so important. And when it comes to your personal brand, you can see your personal brand a lot when you start companies in those instances to where, you're starting something new within an industry to where you don't see it, right? So with that being said, how would you say your personal brand is your business brand also? And how does that work for you?
Yeah, I think that, I love what Ilbert said. I took note on it. He said entrepreneurship is self-care for him. And I think that for me, like personally, entrepreneurship just like gives me freedom, like to be me. And so personally, as a brand, I get to show up fully as who I am, like, right? I don't have to try to hide and, act like someone else and sort of do all that. And that's what I kind of take away from makeup is that like, sometimes people would associate makeup with being superficial or putting on, and it's not. Beauty is revealed, not applied. Like makeup is there to reveal who you are, not cover up who you are. And so for me, for my personal brand, it's the same way. Like I get to show up authentically, and I get to help others show up in ways that maybe they almost have been trained not to, and not even to be themselves. So my personal brand, I just get to show up as me and get to have fun and get to dance and get to laugh and get to shave my head and just whatever I want to do. So that's what I love about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And saying that as well, what is the main piece of advice you wish you were given at the start of developing your personal brand and creating your company?
Well, I needed that coaching back at 16 when I was when I was kicked out of high school. Like, like this needed to go back a long time ago. But come to find out, God still allowed that to work out for good, because then I went back to juveniles and alternative schools to go talk to girls who look like me, and who the system sometimes criminalizes before they're even adults. And so, even with that, that's worked towards my personal brand. But when I look at like what would I tell myself before? I think I would just tell myself that, you're going to make mistakes, so-called mistakes, right? But God works everything together for good when you're called according to his purpose. And I think for a lot of our businesses, we're doing it for a purpose, and it is a calling. So I think that it'll all add up. Like even your mistakes, even your failures, even whatever you think it could be the worst thing that could happen. It's not on brand. It still can work out for your good. So I would say just really kind of take the pressure off and just kind of live with the freedom that everything will work out.
Awesome, awesome. And last question, what is the most satisfactory thing that has happened to you when building your personal brand within your company? What is the main piece of success that you've been able to take away from your brand in building your personal brand?
I think, being honest about some things that have happened in my life, or some things that have happened to me, or things that I've done, and other people saying me too. And not and sort of that feeling of that isolation of whatever's, happening to you, it didn't happen to anyone else. Like people to say me too, people that DM you, inbox you, comment, people that, email you, but through you showing up with your personal brand and telling your story, And people being like, me too. Like, yeah, like I can identify that with that. That resonated with me. I think that's the part that makes the personal brand so strong. Because I think your personal brand is really just about you, telling your story and getting that out. And I think that when people are able to identify with it and in some ways even saving lives through doing that, that's to me, that's the most satisfactory thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. That was so powerful. You never know who you can impact with your story and your journey, especially when building your personal brand. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now we have questions for all of our panelists that we will ask to all of our panelists that we have with us here this morning. First question that we have for everyone: what steps did you take to build your personal brand?
I'll just shoot out there. Some of the steps that I took to build my personal brand, it was to realize branding is building. And so, for me, it was around the fact that what you do offline, what you do, again, to really impact people's lives, what you do from a genuine place with good intent, sometimes it'll get caught on camera, sometimes it won't, right? And so if you have what your intentions are, you look at like your personal mission, write down your personal mission. Even write down your personal, a lot of times at the beginning of the year or either at my birthday, because that's my personal new year, is that I'll write down like my personal mission, again, revisit that personal mission, revisit that personal vision, and also like the theme of that year for me. And like what that theme, what do I feel like God is like downloading to me? Like, what's my theme for the year? And so then really start to tell story around that, around that personally working areas in the community in those sectors, like different things like that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to build up and then you're going to realize you have your brand is what you have envisioned for it to be. It doesn't happen overnight. It's continual work. But I think, definitely identifying like your mission, your vision, even for you personally, your personal board of directors to kind of help you, like they give you feedback on what they see coming from you and the things that you're working at. But yeah, that's some of the steps I took.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you.
I wouldn't tap into that. I think it's just being true to self. For me, I do vision boards. And when I do the vision board, annually, I see what my end goal is and then how I see it, and I manifest, affirmations. I write these things down and just being authentic with who I'm aligned with from within, right? And then from there, and just not taking it too serious. Sometimes we start getting anxiety and stress. Social media has taken such a deep impact within the entire society, and sometimes we take things too serious. Sometimes it's best to, like Terry, get on a plane and just fly out somewhere, and just take, self-care, like just be kind to yourself. I think being kind to yourself and embracing living, your authentic self will come out so naturally. And just read the room and then look at where you are and look at where you want to be and understand the steps that you need to get there, and then take it just one step at a time. Because if we think so far about it's 20 steps ahead, we can get so overwhelmed, so exhausting. And then mentally that can really feel so heavy on you, so you have to find ways to just feel light. When you feel light, your personal brand starts to shine. Being true to self and be authentic to yourself, your true brand just starts to pop.
Yes, be true to yourself and let that show through your brand. I think that is very important, what you said. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started the Harlem Candle Company, I was actually kind of excited that I was now doing a brand that had nothing to do with me, because it's about celebrating these historic figures. So I was really, really excited because what I had done before doing my Travelista, where I was traveling and doing video content about places around the world, it was all about me. But what I've realized lately, and what I guess the industry has shown me, is being a female African-American founder of a business is extremely important, in letting your story get told and letting people know a lot more about you. So I've had to be a lot more sort of forward facing in the business, which is fine, but the Harlem Candle Company is not about me. I didn't want it to be about me. It's about us. It's about everyone. And it's about which one of these fragrances you connect with the most, or which one of these Harlem Renaissance icons you connect with the most. And I do understand the importance of, being present on social media. I don't post that much. I'm trying to get a little bit better at it just from a personal perspective. But I think part of the reason why I kind of stopped and slowed down so much posting is because it wasn't feeling authentic. It was like, oh, this is a control. Let me take this picture. We'll take like 50 shots just to try to get the perfect one. And I'm like, do I care? And sometimes I just realize, I don't care. I can't be bothered with this right now. But I understand the importance of it. And so I'm trying to do it more. But I'm also trying to do it in a way more authentic, spirited way. And like Ilbert said, I do vision boards as well. I visualize a lot. I visualized my products on the shelves of Bloomingdale's. Um, I visualized Martha Stewart. I really like Martha Stewart. I like the fact that she's been, a TV personality. I like the fact that she has products all over the place, that she has so when I was featured in Martha Stewart, I was like, wow, this is crazy, because this was on my vision board. This sort of entrepreneur journey that she's had. So I think visualization and creating affirmations for yourself is extremely important. I've been doing it since college. I'll tell a quick story. I had a calculus professor who he would teach calculus, and I was like, oh, calculus. But when he started talking about creating the life that you want, that's when I would pay attention and take notes. And he challenged us all to create affirmations for ourselves where you're speaking in the present tense. And at the time, I speak a couple languages, but at the time I didn't. I wanted to speak French and I wanted to live in Paris. And I wrote those two things as my affirmations and completely forgot, but I would say them every morning when I woke up. I printed it out and put it on my headboard in college. Fast forward 2 years, I was on a flight back from Paris after living there for a year. And I was just reflecting on the entire experience. I did an internship in Paris, got paid, was living right down the street from the Eiffel Tower. And I'm on the flight back. I was like, oh, this was my affirmation. I said, I speak French and I live in Paris. I'm telling you, it works. Do it. Present tense, where you see yourself. And at the time, it being this sophomore calculus student, I had no idea how I was going to live in Paris and learn to speak French and get paid. And I was getting paid. So I really challenge everyone, create your affirmations. And something that is attainable, but because if you really believe and you say and you speak it, it'll happen. Right, Ilbert?
Man. Happy birthday too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Wow.
Bye.
Happy birthday. Thank you so much for that answer as well. Moving on to our next question. How or what conflicts have you all run into trying to maintain your personal brand?
I guess, when you think about, you say conflicts.
Yes.
I actually have a degree in public relations from Clark Atlanta University. And, when I was going to school, I kind of picked that major just because I was really undecided about what I wanted to be when I grew up, kind of thing. But then now as an entrepreneur, I see so many ways to be able to use those skill sets and things that you learn to use for your brand, for your business, but then also as your personal brand. And one thing I learned is that, it's really conflict, things that happen. It's about the narrative that you tell. And so, always own and work your narrative. Don't just allow the public and others to tell your narrative. And I think that's just really important. Just be a part of it. If it's something that you don't want to speak on, like create another narrative to talk about and make. You see it all the time. There'll be some bad publicity around a company or something like that, and they will literally put out a press release about something totally opposite that's good, so they can take all their attention off of that. Right? They're like, just be mindful about owning your narrative. And so when it comes to your personal brand, it's the same thing. To be honest, we all, have, things that we're a personal brand that we're managing and that kind of thing. But I would say, really be a part of your narrative, be a part of telling your story, how you want to do it, how you want to tell it, because still, it's really not, how can I say, it's not authentic unless you put the seal on it, right? It's like, it's certified when you put the seal on it. So again, be a part of your narrative. That's what I would say.
Yes, it's very, very important. Making sure, your narrative is good. That's great.
Yeah, when I first started the Harlem Candle Company, people were calling it, this is a Black brand for Black people. And I kept thinking, it's founded by a Black woman. It's inspired by Black culture, but these candles are for everyone. I'm not excluding anyone from experiencing beautiful fragrances, but that was kind of the story that was being told. And I didn't like it because I didn't create the Harlem Candle Company for only Black people. I created it for everyone.
And can I say, Terry, can I just say this as a backup, that they do that to a lot of our brands.
Yeah.
So what she's talking about is not just her, they do that to a lot of us. So keep going, but I just wanted to just amen, because they do that a lot.
Oh, that's Black candles for Black people. No, yes. These are candles for everyone.
Yeah.
And so it used to frustrate me because that's how people were seeing it. But now it's so amazing because, we're doing Facebook and digital Facebook and Instagram ads and Google ads. And when I see the names that come through on Shopify, the back end of the website, and I see all sorts of last names, Greek last names, Asian names, Jewish, that you see everything. And it's just like, I told y'all it wasn't it's for everyone. If you like,
and everyone can celebrate us. Yeah. And it's like everybody can celebrate our stories too.
Right.
It could be built on, how many brands have been built on people who do not look like us, and we have bought it and bought into it and everything, right? So we can be celebrated too. Sometimes we can be at the helm of the celebration.
Exactly.
Man.
Yes, definitely. Thank you all so much for your personal input on that question, which is very important to share from the inside looking out. Moving on to our last question for the panel. How have you all used your personal brand to gain professional leverage, if there was any?
I think for me, I was always shy at speaking growing up. Because my English is not my first language. So I've always was hesitant about, they're gonna make fun of my accent. But throughout the years, I've worked on just improving it as just like a resume, just building it and just, tapping into the things that you need to strengthen, and being able to tell my story from like just my upbringing, but also telling the story of like my company and like just my other experiences in school. I think with that, being able to tell the story has inspired a lot of people. And that's been my drive, being able to pay it forward and knowing that if I can affect, influence, impact one person within every time I'm speaking, I'm doing my job, and I'm in a professional matter, I'm actually helping, for anyone that's coming behind me, that can make an impact even on a higher level. So for me, it's just been like just the speaking and being able to share my story authentically.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. Sharing your story authentically as a business owner is extremely, extremely important in building your personal brand.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, yes, absolutely. How have you used your personal brand to gain professional leverage, if there were any leverage to gain?
My personal brand to gain professional leverage. I think this is a prime example of, being invited to speak on panels, and now I'm considered a thought leader in creating luxury products, and it's really really cool. And I guess, I work very hard. That's one thing that everyone who knows me, they're like, oh, you deserve all this success. We know how hard you've worked. Um, but now it's starting to show, and yeah, I think being even considered to be a participant, to talk to the students, to be able to share our stories is just a step in the right direction. And I see so many big things for all of us here. Just really being able to continue to tell our stories and to have bigger platforms, and to eventually maybe be on boards of organizations, or
Manifest.
right. So it's definitely a fun journey, and yeah, but opportunities like this I think are just amazing for us. So thank you, Walker's Legacy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just chime in and just say the first thing I thought of is being able to be a thought leader. Is the their personal to professional leverage, and then also I would say for that personal to professional leverage is being able then to consult with others, and being able to utilize your experience to be able to give real insights that people need and want to hear and want to, and then you can even monetize those, that experience and insights as well. So I think that it also works with that. And then something else I've noticed is, especially as a Black founder, I think our position in the community as a professional is very important. I mean, I've gotten involved with so many different organizations that, like, I didn't go to my first sort of gala until I was a business owner. And then all of a sudden certain groups wanted me with them, and, wanted my input and want to use, want to leverage your image and, all of that kind of stuff and your influence. And again, like, I was at my first gala trying to figure out, like, now which fork do I use? It's just, all of that started to become with it. But that came from, going into that personal to that professional brand, kind of going into that arena. And a lot of things that people would, have to pay a lot of money for to be a part of, they wanted me a part of it. Right. And so I think that, that's also the way that it runs over, or you can leverage it in your professional as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your Fridays to be on The Brand of You panel. Building a personal brand is extremely important when having a business and having a company. And we've had the opportunity to gain amazing insight from these amazing business owners, Ilbert Sanchez, Terry Johnson, and Kim Roxy.